Well, another month, another video about the National Wrestling Alliance, which is somehow still going. End of video. Well, to be fair, other than my reviews, it actually did get some publicity in the last couple of weeks. The publicity was because Vince Russo was trolling fans into thinking he was working for the NWA and then changing his mind and revealing he's actually writing for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Made a video on that one recently. Me personally, I think the NWA missed a step here because everybody is already laughing at their show. Everybody being me and those of you who watch my videos. The show already feels like he's been writing it anyway, so why not bring Russo in? It might attract some fans out of morbid curiosity. The storylines have been hilariously bad. Case in point, one of the top female talents in the company is having a three-way with a shopkeeper and a doctor. And I have literally no idea why. Anyway, we've got the next 4 episodes of Powerr to watch today. And no spoilers, but for once in the NWA, we're going to have a high point where they might actually do something right. Unfortunately, you have to hang around to the very end of the video for that one. And that wasn't purposeful. It just kind of went down like that. Just like your girl. I'd call the start of this show a shit show, but instead we've got a tag match with...
Never mind that shit. Here comes
Mondo!
The one-man roid rage, the gut check, the leader of the Bold Boys of Wrestling, Mike freaking Mondo, and his partner Perk Slade. For those of you who've been living under a rock lately, Mike Mondo is a former Spirit Squad member and he's had a bit of a career rebirth since those days. In my opinion, he is the most watchable guy in this company. Anyway, those two are taking on some miserable jobbers managed by Father James Mitchell. Mondo aggressively batters Alex Miserable by screaming and dumping in his gold nappy of rage. It is brilliant. He works with Perk Slade to hit a double elbow, but Slade misses his follow-up knee drop. Alex Miserable flies at him with a crossbody for a 2 count. For some reason, Damien Sandow is now the manager of Mondo and Slade. Not sure why they would want to associate with this loser. The bean almost kicks in, but Slade isn't quite good enough and can't manage to throw Miserable with a top rope German. Mondo causes a distraction and Miserable falls on his head for a 2 count. Slade and Miserable now hit an atomic drop and a bulldog. Mondo does some push-ups instead of making the pin. He then starts to snap as he stomps on Miserable's nutsack. Wow, those are some serious chops from Mondo. This is great, he is destroying this miserable jobber. The blue boy hasn't even been in this match. Big spear in the corner from Mondo now, and now the bean does kick in as Slade hits a German suplex and a dragon suplex. Shockingly, that isn't the 3. Slade locks on an armbar. Miserable grabs an eyelash and he springs off the ropes into a cutter. Can't complain about the booking here. Mondo looks far more effective than his partner Slade in this match because he is the guy. The blue guy finally has the tag. He dodges a knee strike and hits a nice shoulder breaker. He desperately strikes at the one-man roid rage who no-sells his offense, but he can't no-sell the clothesline. The match breaks down. Blue boy takes out Perk Slade on the apron whilst Mondo hits Miserable with a running kick. The veins almost burst out of his neck as he celebrates that one. He almost pays when the blue boy almost rolls him up, but just a 2. Mondo catches his crossbody and powers him into the gut check time for the 3. Brilliant match, well booked, and the only criticism is Damien Sandow being there. The commentary team say they only won because of Sandow, who did literally nothing in this match. I am a happy hawk overall, but when's Mike Mondo going to get some damn gold? That lawyer guy from the last video meets with Kylie Paige. She is asking what is happening to the $12 million from some random will, even though we don't know who even died. Kylie is confused that she isn't eligible for the $12 million. Despite being confused, she's overall okay because her sister might be awarded the money. Kylie desperately asks the fish-faced lawyer if there's anything she can do to get back into this competition whilst fluttering her eyelashes and massaging his trout. Man, why are all the NWA chicks always flirting with the old men and dorks? I'd say it was funny, but for the next 3 shows this lawyer has completely disappeared, so this whole thing has been pointless. Jobber match next, as Kerry Morton takes on Dylan McQueen, who makes the girls scream. He looks like he ate Joe Hendry. The jobber actually shows some personality as he does a nice dodge and a seductive pose at Morton. Now he grabs Morton's arm and does a rope walk into nothing but a good old slap. McQueen blows a kiss and hits a head scissors. Morton can't land a move on this guy. Big springboard knee from McQueen now. Kerry dumps in his nappy of fear and hides on the outside where he turns the match and he throws McQueen with a suplex. Kerry brings him back to the ring with a frog splash, but he breaks up his own pin. Bad choice because the jobber makes a comeback. His sunset flip doesn't work and Kerry boxes him for a 2. The match slows to a snail's pace. Morton puts on a front face lock with the jobber powers out of it and hits a suplex. McQueen with a back body drop now and some strikes. He can't hit a powerbomb as Morton slips away and hits a neckbreaker. Kerry Morton motions that he's going to dive now as the jobber kips up. He boots Morton, nice, and then he hits a middle rope flatliner for just a 2 count. Kerry is in trouble here, so he grabs an eyelash and smacks McQueen in the back of the head. The referee almost makes a judgment call to award the match to Kerry Morton by knockout, but he hasn't won by knockout, so he hits a charging knee to the noggin. Kerry strangely breaks up his own pin again. Why is this match so poorly booked? He's clearly been struggling with this guy, why would he break up his own pin? Kerry Morton hits a final cut, and this time that is the 3. Not bad at all. I think the jobbers showed some good personality, but these matches are strange because the jobbers keep getting in so much offense. That being said, we wouldn't be against seeing this guy again. Up next, it'll be the Vince Russo special, the handcuffed heat match. Eric Smalls to take on Trevor Murdoch. I thought that Murdoch would have his hand behind his back or something, but hilariously it's Mike Knox on the outside who's handcuffed. Well, this is a pointless stipulation. He could have just been banned from ringside, and why would Murdoch even need his help? This man is a former world champion of this promotion. Murdoch fights the little man from his knees and powers Smalls over. Yes, get him Murdoch, destroy him. Murdoch with a slam now. The crowd dumping their nappies of anger. Now he hits a bulldog. It should be over, but Murdoch isn't interested in winning yet. Murdoch heads to the top, but misses his top rope bulldog. Smalls smacks him in the slash zone and hits a super kick. He also hits a springboard moonsault. Hilariously, Mike Knox has to take a cheap shot from the outside. Wow, this stipulation has worked so well. Very Vince Russo-ish. When Smalls turns around, Murdoch hits a small boot and the running clothesline for the 3 count. Better than I expected, but pretty dumb. Now Kerry Morton calls out Alexander Hammerstone for some reason. He looks like a constipated alien. Colby Carino cuts a promo complaining that his dad was never present growing up. He doesn't like Carson Drake because he's rich and has been handed everything to him in life. Oh, hell no, we're back in the video nerd shop again. I thought we were going to avoid this today. TVMA meets with the creepy doctor. Apparently she invited him here. Why would she invite him to meet in a video game shop? The doctor is confused that Tiffany hasn't been responding to his DMs. He admits he knows that she's been busy as a double champion. He vows that he's going to help her become a triple champion by adding the women's title to her growing resume. But in order to do that, and to quote him, he's going to need to be one-on-one with her. They both undress each other with their eyes. Why would she need his help? It doesn't make any sense. Now Nick Swift and Damien Don't Look at My Fenrir will have a match. Bit of a sloppy start to this match. Nick Swift does a cradle pin, a backslide pin and a rolling cradle, but he can't get the JOB done. Swift keeps going with an enziguri kick. Fenrir shows off some athleticism and starts throwing his own kicks. He flips into the ring and hits a big clothesline. Don't Look at My Rear now with a suplex and an Austin Aries style elbow drop. They play cat and mouse for a bit now until Swift tries to dive off the top, but Fenrir drop kicks him. This move kind of wipes out that running kick on the top rope from the last match. The crowd chant Holy Hawk, which is not something you hear often in the NWA. Fenrir hits the rear view and that is the 3. I have to admit, there is actually some potential at these shows nowadays. Well, this is a turn up for the books. Bram's actually going to be defending his world title. I almost can't believe it. Bram admits that he has a size disadvantage tonight, which is rare for him. Bram sounds seriously ill again, but again, I think it's because he's wearing adult braces, but I hope he's okay. Hillbilly Silage Mason cuts a promo raging that Bram has been ignoring him in his request for a title shot. It's a great intense promo, and I really do like this guy. He could really do with a good catchphrase or something just to become more of a complete package because he's really good at talking. He accuses Bram of being a coward. Okay, so the world title match sees the challenger El Dragon Neon taking on Bram. Even though El Dragon Neon has done literally nothing to earn a title shot, whilst Thrillbilly hasn't earned a title shot, despite being in this company for years. All that aside, I'm quite intrigued to see these two massive men go at it one-on-one. Bram struggles to knock him down for a while. It's not even close. Instead, Bram hits drop kicks, which do a bit better for him. Dragon is still fine, and this guy is enormous. How much does he eat to maintain that frame? He tries to intimidate Bram in the corner. He starts to slowly dissect the man called Bram. The whole ring is moving. Out of nowhere, Bram takes him off his feet for the first time with a clothesline and a spinning heel kick. Bram impressively scoop slams the big man and drops an elbow for a 2. He hits 10 smacks in the corner to little to no effect. He manages to dodge a smack and hits a back suplex for another 2. Dragon blocks his next move and hits a suplex for his own 2. They start looking a bit tired out there. Dragon eventually hits a big boot and an ass drop for a 2 count. That's like a Vauxhall Corsa falling on you. He tries a big splash, but Bram gets his knees up. Bram now with a stone cold stunner and a DDT for his own 2. Dragon isn't finished as he hits another slam and heads to the top. Predictably, Bryon wakes up and he powerbombs in from the top for the 3. I like Dragon, but he's very, very, very slow, and I was slightly disappointed by his lack of moves here. That being said, amazing look to this dude though. The Southern 6 jump Bryon after the bell, but some other jobbers rush out and a big brawl takes place. Have you ever seen so many jobbers in one camera shot? I'm not even sure who half these guys are. Pretty cool visual to end the show on though, it's not something you see in the NWA very often. I do like how the camera mostly focuses on Bryon and Thrillbilly. That was a pretty enjoyable show. They kept the silly stuff to a minimum and they managed to build up Bryon and Thrillbilly, so let's check out show 2. So this one starts out with a brand new intro for the NWA. Not sure if it's a Smashing Pumpkins song because I would never listen to that, but it's alright. And this is a new arena in New York City, and it looks much more impressive. You can't really criticise this setup, it looks to be a lot more people in it than the usual NWA show. Richard Swann will hilariously challenge for the junior title now, even though he's accomplished more than most people on this roster. He dances with a BBW. The champion is too cold for mould Alex Taylor, who brings his crew with him. I can't get over how much of a better look this arena is for this company. We start with Swann doing a repeated kip-up spot which completely unsettles Taylor. They start running around like morons, leading to Swann hitting a cannonball off the ring apron and another out of the ring. The crowd can't quite believe what they're seeing here. The commentary team acknowledge Swann's run with gold in TNA and WWE. Taylor hits his own dive out of the ring. Back in the ring and Swann nails a jawbreaker, but he can't dive and Taylor drags him to the mat. Damn, check out this crazy back body drop. What is Rich Swann doing here? Big turtle world backbreaker from Taylor now for a 2. Swann reverses his next suplex into a 2 count. Now we get a crucifix with Taylor rolling through that into a half Nelson. Swann makes the ropes. He recovers the advantage with a rolling flying clothesline. He starts to flap his wings with happiness and hits a neckbreaker and a back kick for a 2. Despite that, he misses the Swann song and Taylor throws him into the corner with an overhead belly to belly. Swann starts dribbling like he's been submerged in a lake trying to eat fishes. He gathers momentum with a handspring into a cutter. He also hits the Swann splash, but surprisingly too cold for mould kicks out. Swann keeps going and hits his signature splash, but he can only peck up a 2 because Taylor makes the bottom ropes. Swann thinks he still has the advantage, but the bottom rope is pulled into his nutsack. Taylor hits the brown whistle, and somehow that's enough for the 3, despite Taylor barely hitting a move in this match. You have to say, Rich Swann has been impressive for this company so far. The Colons beg us not to change the channel. They admit that they've sucked so far, but they will recover and become the tag team champions. The one-man Roid Rage walks along a riverbed, screaming about how much he hates big strong Mims. He gives himself about 1,000 nicknames and vows to become the new national heavyweight champion. Can you imagine being an innocent bystander to this promo? He looks completely out of control.
Because it's my time! It's Mondo time, and for you Mims, it's good chick time.
Damien Sandow is sat with Carson Drake. They will be having a tag match soon. Sandow says he isn't a trained wrestler and he has no business being in the ring. Well, he's got that right. The Slime Balls are also here, and they vow to do whatever it takes to help Sandow and Drake win the match. Now it's going to be a 4-way tag match for the #1 contendership. A masked moron and a man named Frank are a team. And we've also got... Wait, why are Doom 2.0 still a team? They suck. Get rid of them. Rodney Mack and Marshe Rocket have not won a match in years. They must have been short on tag teams here. The other 2 teams are the Colons and the returning Slime Balls. Hopefully they win, because at least they're funny and they actually win more matches than you would expect. These guys will grow on you just like a wart. The smaller Slime Ball starts with the man called Frank. He just keeps running away and tagging in the Mac attack. The match almost breaks down straight away. Damien Sandow trips up the masked moron and Rodney Mack puts him away with a roll-up. The match then gets interrupted by Kenny O'Crapper hyping up what a great champion he is. Looks kill, and so does he. Footage is now shown of the famous wrestlers who have appeared over this company's past. Back at ringside, and Damien Sandow has randomly turned on Rodney Mack with a loaded glove. The Slime Balls make the pin from that smack. Damien Sandow has sold his soul to the devil for some reason. So straight away, without barely seeing a wrestling move, we're down to the final 2 teams. The bigger Slime Ball has the tag and he shakes his haircut with happiness. Then he spits into the face of Primo. He pays for that. The big Slime Ball recovers and he hits a suplex into a slam for a 2. Now the Slime Brothers work together of a slobbering double slab. The smaller Slime Ball keeps outpacing Epico. Despite that, he eventually runs into a Turtle World backbreaker and another of the normal variety. Apparently, the commentary team are in complete shock that Sandow seems to be managing the slime balls now, even though he's been seen in multiple segments with them over the past few months. The smaller slime ball dodges a drop kick and the colon falls on him anyway. Nice leg sweep now. There's a new commentator and he keeps using the line, "Wings of Mercury." It's really annoying. Primo crashes down onto the slime ball and Epico sentons into the ring for a 2 count. Back suplex into a German into a brainbuster without any release at all now. It should be over, but the big slime ball breaks up the pin. Suddenly, the slime ball almost makes a comeback through biting. He pays for that one too. Finally, the smaller slime ball manages to tag out. This crowd are actually behind them. The Power Man hits multiple smacks to the gut. He hits a back senton as a blind tag is made. The big slime ball throws his little friend with the snot rocket, but that's just a 2. The match breaks down and Sandow is in the ring with a loaded glove. It doesn't help and the colon reverses the slime ball and hits the backstabber for the 3. Wow, why would anyone want Sandow as their manager? It just turned you into a jobber. Pretty fun though. Bryon brags about how he is the champion. He admits that he will now give Thrill Billy a title shot. The Pope will talk to us now. He was recently attacked by the one-man roid machine and he will discuss how he feels about that beatdown. He says that he's too injured to do anything about Mike Mondo and his young boy Slade right now, but he will deal with them in his own time. He would also like to talk about his former friend Big Strong Mims. Pope then randomly tells us he's here to become the World Heavyweight Champion. Not sure what that has to do with Big Strong Mims, he isn't the World Heavyweight Champion. Is this guy just trying to book himself in 3 different feuds at once? Kenzie, Paige and her stupid dad will now try to hype up the match between 2 wrestling promotions that nobody would ever watch. This is the most conservatively dressed I've ever seen Kenzie Paige. Kenzie will also be defending her belt against Markova soon. This makes her feel like God hates her for apparently stacking the deck against her family. It's also casually dropped into conversation that Kenzie is now engaged to the dork Hunter Drake. She randomly looks out the window and spots him flirting with her younger sister outside. They hilariously start shaking and deny anything. Kenzie thinks that her sister is trying to steal her spotlight. She is such a narcissist. Me. Imagine fighting over this guy. She says that she no longer trusts her family. What a segment. The television title will unfortunately be on the line now. Joe Ocasio will challenge for Kenny O'Crapper's belt. I didn't care for this one and had to fast forward it. Bryon Idol looks like Kenny O'Crapper combined with a peanut. He thinks he's some sort of rock star. For once I was happy that this match was interrupted by 3 interviews. Hilarious. First we have EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth who has followed everybody's advice. They will beat up Carson Drake and Damian Sandow. Alexander Hammerstone talks about how much electricity was flowing through his veins when he faced Thrill Billy, but he was screwed out of the victory. He calls the Southern Six goons and will punish Kerry Morton for his involvement in that loss. Tiffany Nieves has been on a tanning bed. She says that she's facing Sonya Deville soon. She then grabs a random fan called Greta Thunberg. She's actually European too. They have to have done this deliberately. Tiffany recruits her to a stupid group. Then Bryon Idol wins the match with the Peanut Gallery. This show is over. Episode 3 starts out with a random 6-man tag called a King Bee match. The winning team will immediately face each other in a triple threat and the winner gets a shot at the junior title. It is The Miserable featuring Crazy Steve taking on Don't Look at My Rear, Perk Slade and Luke Curtis. Crazy Steve gets us started with some fun wrestling. He then stops fighting and takes a bite out of Fen rear. Tags are made and Slade almost loses straight away. He has to stay on his guard against Miserable's crazy offense. The son of Apollo, Miserable, manages to hit head scissors. More tags are made and it's the Blue Boy taking down Luke Curtis. Perk Slade tags in and he hits a stun gun and a clothesline. The Bean has officially kicked in. Strangely, that causes him to tag out. Fenrir hits a suplex now with Slade tagging him. They are now partners who don't get on. Blue Boy hits a barely effective combination and Slade German suplexes him. That causes Slade to put his straps back up and take them back down again. Kind of funny. He shouldn't have bothered as the Blue Boy hits a DDT for a double down. On the outside, Alex Miserable. Wow, he hits a flying flip dive off the stage. NWA have looked like they've been trying to push the limits recently. Back in the ring and Slade almost wins with the ankle lock, but the tag is made to Crazy Steve. Steve is very fresh and he destroys Slade with ease. It's a legally blind man versus a legally deaf man. When has this ever happened before? Who's going to win this epic battle? This feud is money, put it on pay-per-view. There's a partial ref bump and Slade takes Steve's eyes. Not that there's much to take. Slade hits the perk pop and that's the 3. Not sure why the ref had to be distracted when people have been doing eye rakes across the 3 shows we've seen today. Manager Austin Idol cuts a promo whilst the theme music for Relic plays in the background. He says that he's introducing an Austin Idol tournament to crown a #1 contender for the heavyweight title because he was the first ever holder of that belt. Carson Drake randomly starts laughing, but he's interrupted by a phone call. He runs down his own cousin about how boring he is. He says he can get his cousin a spot in the Austin Idol tournament. Apparently he has an Uncle Vince too. Wow, so the Drake family is expanding. They must be inbred. He finds it hilarious that his cousin is coming for some reason. Back at the triple threat, Slade, being the most established man in this match, finds that the other 2 are teaming up on him. The other 2 start fighting and making pins on each other. The crowd sound very restless, they just aren't reacting to any of these pins. Someone should smack them one. Slade returns and double German suplexes them to wake up the crowd. Once again, the beam kicks in and the crowd roar with happiness. Slade throws them both with overhead suplexes. He doesn't want to let Mike Mondo down. Luke Curtis hits him with a lucky kick and he starts copying the strap thing. He's forgotten about his rear and he rolls into the ring and smacks him down. This is a triple down. They chop each other like morons before they get tired of doing that. Nice dragon release suplex from the perk popper now. Slade gets the ankle lock on, but Luke Curtis climbs onto his back of a sleeper hold. Then Rhea kicks them away and climbs to the top whilst the submission is in progress. Wouldn't it have been hilarious if he tapped out whilst he was climbing and made him look like a dummy? But no, Rhea splashes them both. No pin is made, instead we get a slap off. Rhea eventually does hit the rear view for the 3. Mondo is not going to be happy at Perk Slade about this. Kerry Morton laughs about costing Alexander Hammerstone his world title match. He says he'd do it again if he could because he'll always have his friends back. Wow, I can resonate with that. Everyone needs a friend like Kerry Morton. Not enough of that going around nowadays. At the Paige family soap opera, Kenzie Paige is throwing a bitch fit as usual. Her dad tells her to calm down. She demands that Hunter and Kylie reveal something. The dork Hunter Drake says there's nothing going on and Kylie is like a little sister to him. The interviewer says it doesn't look that way. Kylie is confused why she isn't allowed to spend time with her future brother-in-law. In this scene, Kylie looks like a bag of butter. Once and for all, nothing is going on. Because this is wrestling, of course something is going on. It better bloody be going on. This storyline's lasted over a year at this point. Pretty Boy Smooth looks really bored, or perhaps he's high. They vow to become the best tag team in wrestling history. It's hard to believe it. Kerry Morton is now calling himself Mr. Roku. That nickname is 0 buys. He's going to need more than nicknames tonight because he's taking on Alexander Hammerstone. It doesn't take long for the Hammer to start powering him around. Morton desperately tries to avoid a slam. Hammer hesitates for a moment, perhaps showing him mercy. Morton nails a neckbreaker. Hammer is outpaced and smashes into the ring pole. Morton slowly works over the Hammer's leg. A neck snapper gets him a 2. I don't think anybody expected this match to go down like this. Kerry just keeps peppering him for ages and ages, but eventually he does make a mistake and he runs straight into a choke slam for a double down. Hammer is now finally in this match. He hits a huge back body drop and an equally huge overhead suplex. Morton escapes a powerbomb and he snap slams Hammer for a 2. He also hits a running knee and the commentary team just can't believe it's not over from that. They head to the top where Hammer hits a superplex. When they get up, Kerry can still sidestep a pump kick. Hammer sprays bad breath in his face. Man, Kerry is really holding his own in there. He can't hold his own against a German suplex, and now Hammer does nail the powerbomb, but it's just a 2. He boots Morton's face off straight after, but Morton reverses his slam with a cradle for a 2. Morton then hits a knockout smack to the back of Hammer's head. He takes too long to make the cover, and Hammerstone gets a rope break. Kerry is furious and calls for his boys. They don't arrive. Hammer dodges his knee, and then he picks him up, and there's the Nightmare Pendulum for the 3. Wow, Morton's friends are dicks after what he said about them before this match. I wish Hammer could have powered him around a little bit more in this match. It felt like Morton had 90% of this one. Kenny O'Crapper walks along with Markova by a river, telling her what a star that he is. He tells her that it's time she finally takes the title from Kenzie Paige. Is it just me? This guy screams heel. He doesn't look like a rock star, whatever he's trying to be here. He looks like a peanut crumb. Please turn him heel, it would make him 100% more bearable. Anyway, O'Crapper warns her it's probably her last chance at a title shot. I love how a bunch of people are running along in the background, but they all look far more attractive than them. Tiffany Nieves is one of the NPCs walking around in the background. She is with her doctor. Tiffany makes awkward faces and is embarrassed to see people she knows. Wonder what happened to the good old shopkeeper. Maybe he's tied up in their bed at home. Alright, tag match now. Carson Drake teams up with Damien Sandow, who doesn't want to do the Carson Drake shuffle. This guy is such a cartoon character. He's pretty great. They take on the massive fail, EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth. He's bigger than a shed, and you can park a damn Mustang on his forehead. Wow, look at that outfit from Damien Sandow. EC3's looking extra shredded tonight. Sandow makes a blind tag quickly and EC3 brings him in the hard way. Sandow dumps this singlet with fear and runs away. EC3 grabs him eventually and hits an atomic drop. Here comes Pretty Boy Smooth, but he allows Sandow to tag out. He instead hits Drake with a big boot. EC3 back in with a Fairs press to Carson. Drake gets smacked out the ring. Drake pulls an Eddie Guerrero on the outside as he tries to get EC3's manager sent away from ringside. We now receive another Colby Corino update. He's looking very different because he's just had surgery on his neck. We will get more information on the next show. Mondo is in beast mode and he will be winning the gold on the next show. Well, I sure hope so. Back at the ring and the Hills still can't get going. Hilariously, EC3's manager actually does interfere now and he gets caught and ejected from ringside. Why didn't he get ejected when Drake pulled an Eddie Guerrero earlier? EC3 hits a TKO into his knee, but yet again Damien Sandow has made a blind tag. Finally, the match turns. Drake hits a short DDT for a 2. Damien Sandow hits a Russian leg sweep. Wow, I can't remember the last time I saw him do an actual wrestling move. EC3 manages to back body drop him and he tags out. Smooth just starts manhandling the Hills and throwing them around with ease. Carson Drake is hit with a half Nelson slam and a leg drop for a 2. EC3 stops Sandow from cheating and then he hits him with a stone cold stunner. Ethan randomly throws himself out of the ring at Carson Drake. Pretty Boy thinks about a Russian leg sweep now, but he's shoved off into EC3 on the ring apron. Sandow tells Pretty Boy Smooth, "Shut up or I'll smack you one," and that's how the match ends. Wow, losing to a guy who hasn't wrestled a match in years. Perhaps already teasing a breakup between EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth. Not a bad match though. Let's watch our 4th and final episode of Powerr. Okay, so we've got one final show to watch, but this is the big one. This one starts out with a match between the vampire chick from the last video and Tiffany Nieves, who's looking a bit different here. The vampire dominates for a bit with arm drags and a big boot. She even does an arm drag off the top. The arm drags keep on coming. Now she hits a net breaker and a dropkick. Man, she is spamming the moves tonight. She gets distracted looking for a bite in the corner. Tiffany hangs her in the Tree of Woe and gives her a beatdown and a baseball slide. Nice spinning side slam now and round she goes. Tiffany locks on a bridging armbar. The manager tries to help her but gets caught in the act. Now the vampire makes a comeback with a headbutt and a German suplex. She seems to have her finished off with a Shining Wizard but still no pin. Instead, the manager takes her attention. Tiffany tries to jump her, but the vampire can smell the human blood coming up behind her and boots her. She now hits a final cut with her leg and does make the pin, but it's just a 2. In my opinion, this girl is going to go far, especially with the alternative crowd. There aren't many girls who aren't dolloped in fake tan nowadays. People's going to go nuts for her. Anyway, she kicks the manager through the ropes, but she gets jumped on her way back into the ring. Tiffany hits an eat defeat and a spine buster. She locks on the royal toilet and dumps all over the vampire's back, who taps out. Really nice match, to be fair, and my criticisms of the vampire from last time about her looking too happy weren't there this time. Apparently, Tiffany just needs to defend this belt one more time before she gets a shot at Kenzie Paige's belt. So many belts in this company. Talking of Paige, Tennessee P argues with Kylie Paige. He says next week he's going to beat up her dad and the dork Hunter Drake. Kylie tells him how insane the Paige family are. This whole thing goes on for way too long. I just can't stand this guy. He also insinuates that her dad isn't actually her dad because they have a different surname. She gets heated about this and then he starts asking her to hit him. She doesn't do that. Instead, she grabs his eyelashes and the segment ends. From one sister to the other, Kenzie Paige says she's going to beat up Markova, who hasn't got a chance in getting the belt. I have to apologise for this next match, but randomly we have a gauntlet up next to decide who's going to become the number 1 contender for the national title, but this match is horrendous. Why they put this on telly is beyond me. Because this is the NWA, we start out with Jay Bradley and a man I've literally never seen before, but they can't even be bothered to tell us who the guy even is. The next guy is another guy we've never seen before, Polish guy Mario Padusz. Apparently, this is going to be mostly a territory battle royal, so we won't really know any of these people. I'm more surprised that they've managed to find 3 guys over 6'2" who aren't obese. This match sucks Sonny Siaki's ass, by the way. Why would anyone want to watch a battle royal full of random people you've never heard of? Izzy James seems decent, but it's not so hard in this environment. A fat man does enter now and starts putting his ass in people's faces. Can somebody please get eliminated? This must be the big bold boys of Wrestling Rumble. Natalia Markova is possibly happy about her upcoming title shot, but it's really hard to tell what her expression is saying anymore. Hillbilly is also hyped for his title shot, and hyped is putting it lightly as snot pours out of his nose with happiness. Anyway, this is the dumbest match ever. If you have to do it, get it over with quickly, but don't spend most of your show focusing on people that most of your audience has never seen before. It's gonna make people change the channel, especially when fucking Jay Bradley seems to be the focus of the match. Now Carson Drake's cousin will enter, Lockjaw Drake. Strange first name. His gimmick is apparently that his jaw can't be injured. The fat man quickly rubs his ass in his face. If you compare this to the JCW Gauntlet Rumble I watched the other day, these guys are in far better shape. We cut away from this match again so Carson Drake can fix his hair in the mirror. The slime balls are also here with him. Drake tells them that they are filthy rich and they laugh for about 10 seconds. I wasn't expecting that was weird. Yeah, filthy is right. Hammerstone brags that he beat up Kerry Morton and this has proved that he deserves a place on the NWA roster. He now wants another match. Dante Casanova is here, and this is actually someone that the Hawk says has a bright future in wrestling because this guy looks like a star to me. He hits a crossbody on the fat man but can't even get a 1 count. For some reason, the final entrant in this match almost gets booed out of the building. He has a physique from the 1960s bodybuilding and the smallest head that I've ever seen. You can see the issue with most of these people. They haven't got a whole lot of charisma and they don't interact with the crowd. The commentators are shocked that the crowd keep chanting for Wrecking Ball. I'm not shocked, he's the only person who's been on Powerr regularly in this entire match. They can't cheer for the other guys if they don't know their names. People are so dense on this show. Dante Casanova is still in there, but he can't get away from the Wrecking Ball. A world's strongest slam puts him down. No, he kicks out the pin. Okay, so they obviously do see something in this kid, they're not completely stupid. Casanova thinks he has Wrecking Ball eliminated, but doesn't quite manage it. They double team him on the apron, but he won't let go of the ropes until he finally does. The crowd are livid about this elimination. So the final two is Dante Casanova and Carson Drake's cousin. The crowd chant, "You both suck." They really wanted the fat man. Casanova drops him, but the crowd have completely turned on the match at this point and chant, "You can't wrestle." A man called The Wall returns, who apparently was never eliminated. I think this guy was possibly in at number 1 or 2. Yeah, this is a bit awkward now. This is some horrible booking. Dante Casanova botches a moonsault and he's thrown into the ring pole. Why is this still going on? I am so confused. The Wall eliminates Dante Casanova. This match has taken up almost the entire show at this point. For some reason, the winner of this match is the Wall brother. What a bizarre choice for a winner. Why didn't the cousin of Carson Drake win? You know, the guy who we'd actually heard about before this match. None of this made any sense. Whoever booked this match, look in the mirror and smack yourself one. Well, thank God that rubbish is over. And up next, an angry man screams it's gut check time. Because it's time for the national title to be defended. But first, an update on Colby Corino again. Poor dude. He said all of this started 2 years ago when he went numb during a match. As a wrestler, he felt that he had to just tough it out. It started to get more and more frequent as he was scared because he didn't have any other jobs that he could do. They have now taken bone out of his hip and shoved it into his neck. He doesn't know if he'll ever return to wrestling. Well, I sure hope he manages to, because he's a big miss on this show. Back at the ring, and Mike Mondo, the leader of the Bold Boys of Wrestling, is finally getting a singles title shot against Big Strong Mims. Again, don't know why Mondo has to be associated with Damien Sandow, but it is what it is. We start with a surprisingly technical matchup. Now Mondo wants a test of strength. I'd love to see these guys have a strength competition, something in the gym, that would be hilarious. Anyway, the test of strength goes on for a while until Mondo breaks it up and almost rolls Mims up. The intensity is off the wall for this match. Mims has to resort to an eye rake. He gets a 2 count on a belly to belly. Mondo takes the ref so Sandow can trip up Mims from the outside. Nice screaming kick from Mondo now, which gets him a 2 count. Another nice Mondo move now as he misses the discus but doesn't miss the shot from behind. Just a 2 count. Mondo can't make Mims tap out, but now Mims' manager has got involved. Mims hits corner clotheslines and a shoulder to the gut. He hits Mondo with a dump tackle and a big splash for a 2. Wow, now Mondo gets turned upside down on the ring apron. Mims returns him to the ring with a spear for a 2. Now a big strong slam from Mims. Damien Sandow has taken the ref. The Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, is here. It's like it's 2013. He He hates both of these guys. He chooses to attack Big Strong Mims, his former friend. Mondo wakes up and hits the gut check time for the 1, 2, 3. The leader of the Bold Boys of Wrestling and the biggest little man, the one-man roid rage, Mike freaking Mondo, has won the gold in National Wrestling Alliance. All I can say is, yes, thank God NWA finally did the right thing. Nobody will ask what about Mondo anymore because now it's Mondo time. Genuinely happy for this guy. He's shown that you should never give up. Even if you're a bit older, there's still time for you to find success in life. You can apply this to anything. It doesn't just have to be about wrestling. Don't let anyone tell you can't. Now he is one step closer to being world champion of this promotion. Well, that's made the Hawks' day. I'm in a great mood, so for once, I won't end this video with a threat. Just, thanks for all watching this series and allowing me to do this. It's moments like this that make it worth it.